In today's video, I have an exciting guest. We have one of the team members from Botborgs. In case you haven't heard of Botborgs, it's a very exciting Solana gaming project. I actually just did a video on it, so I'll have a link to the video that goes over what the project is about and what it essentially is. To give you guys the very quick summary of what the project is, it's essentially a multi-planet gaming project where you have these different worlds and you have different games on different worlds. And then you have art galleries as well. So it's essentially kind of a metaverse / gaming project. And I found it to be one of the most interesting projects I've seen with so many interesting gameplay dynamics. So that's why I invited DaGen onto the YouTube channel to basically share more about the project. Welcome.
Awesome. Thank you for having me. Happy to talk more about the project.
Cool. So the first question I had is, how did you and your teammates decide to start building this project? Where did that initial idea come from?
Yeah, so I myself have been in that NFT space for a pretty long time now. I started off on ETH, and then I transitioned onto Solana right around when DaGen apes were releasing. And then so I always saw new projects popping up on ETH when it came to gaming, crypto projects, but none of them were really doing anything special. All of the graphics were it was pixel art. It wasn't fun to play. I tried playing Axie Infinity and it just wasn't fun. And I have pretty good connections with one of my friends who's the owner of this game development studio. It's an indie game studio called Martian Games. And I just said I think we can 100% do this better. There's not too much competition when it comes to doing this on Solana compared to ETH. So let's just dive in and just try to do something cool with it. And that was 5 to 6 months ago. And we started off with just me and the indie studio called Martian Games, which is around 5 people. So it's 6 of us. And they've been in the game production space for 13 years now. They've been primarily making web-based games, but they've worked for a ton of different companies on development with Unity. And so we decided to just jump in. We're let's create something cool. Let's do it where people actually enjoy what they're playing, and so they can earn something from it as well. Because that's the number one thing that attracts people to games and crypto. You're not really playing it because the gameplay is the best. You're playing it because it's fun and you can earn money from it. So that's where we started. And since then, we've just been building, adding new team members, and growing.
Got it. Okay, that's interesting. So this gaming studio, it's called Martian Studio?
Yeah, Martian Games. Martian Games, yeah. It's an indie. And then as we've continued building, we've added on another studio called Bingo Art Studio. And these guys work with us to create all of our in-game characters, spaceships, tanks, all that stuff, animations for everything. And then whenever we're working on PvP planets that are more time consuming, we outsource to bring on extra developers so we can get more hands-on. And so we're based in San Francisco with Martian Games, and so we're pretty well connected with developers in the space. So whenever we need more hands-on to build one of the more time-consuming planets, it's pretty easy to get new team members to just hop on and help us out.
Okay, that's really cool because I did not know the actual name of the studio. So you guys are pretty much a docs project. You have a legitimate
it's been on the website,
which is amazing. Okay, I completely missed that because I was looking through the Discord and so on. So guys, this is fully doxed. My rating for this project just went to a 10 out of 10 because yeah, it's for somehow, despite my research, I wasn't able to find it, but that's really cool to see that you guys have you guys are putting yourself out there, because honestly most projects don't, right? So that's very, very cool. And I'm curious, why did you guys decide to build on Solana and not another blockchain?
So when it comes to in-game stuff, when you're doing stuff in game, especially if you want to tie crypto into it, it comes with tons of transactions, which on Solana, on Ethereum, it's everyone knows how the gas fees are when you're trying to do stuff in game. We could have built it on a extra thing on Ethereum where it's I forgot what it's called. There's ways to get around the gas fees on Ethereum, But at the same time, like if you do that, like people are gonna have to set up like weird wallets using their like Ethereum wallet, and it just becomes a lot more complicated to get connected and play. On Solana, as we all know, there's no transaction. There's like basically no transaction fees, and things are instant. So you click if you're inside of one of our games and click buy now, you get your in-game item instantly. You don't have to wait like 5 minutes and pay $60 to get your thing. And then also like Solana's been growing rapidly recently, as we all know. Like when I first got into it, when I was talking about that DaGen ape NFT collection drop, like it was like Solana's at like $30 or something. It was like $30 or $40. And since then, like the last 6 months, it just exploded. And same with the user base growth. And you also see a ton of developers coming over to Solana. Just like seeing all this rapid growth, like it's just like, why wouldn't we try to get into that? Especially since on Solana, there's less competition when it comes to gaming. If you look at Ethereum, there's already a bunch of pretty well-established projects, so it's hard to compete and take like part of their market share. But on Solana, you don't really see many projects that already have like playable working demos that are fun. So we just thought we could definitely capitalize on this like emerging market that keeps on growing, and where the competition isn't as strong as it is on Ethereum.
Yeah, I agree with that. And then, like you said, with Ethereum, the layer twos are essentially you have to bridge, which is this whole process, and you have to pay gas fees. So it's usually costs like $100. So you basically, if you're building a game and you're onboarding a new user, they have to buy Ethereum at exchange. Then they have to bridge it, pay $100, and then after that, they probably have to do some more stuff. So it's just not a very user-friendly experience. While with Solana, it's just a much shorter, much faster experience. And Phantom also is a really great wallet.
Yeah, it's a lot more user-friendly. Like if you're brand new to NFTs, like and you go and try to like mint something on Ethereum, 9 times out of 10 you're gonna just waste money on gas. When it comes to Solana, and then when it comes to Solana, it's kind of like basically like shopping online. You just click buy now, and like you either get it or you don't. It's not like you're losing anything, or like it's a lot easier to onboard people onto Solana.
Absolutely. So one of the questions that I really wanted to ask you guys is, what's your 5-year vision of this project? Because I can see this metaverse play that's happening here, but what do you see it in 5 years?
So one of our long-term goals is to basically create like a framework for other projects to be able to build their own planets inside of our universe. So kind of like what Sandbox has been doing, where anyone can go in and like use their like Sandbox tool to build out their own planet, not their own planet, like their own world and characters. And similar to what Roblox has, where like if you look at the Roblox game library, like 99% of their games that are the most popular are made by the community, not by Roblox. So one of our goals is to create basically like the framework for other projects to be able to go on into our game and build their own planet, which then they could import into our world, and then we would check and like approve it, and basically add a completely new experience for players. And if there's going to be a ton of communities building new planets, it's just going to be a huge expanding like able where it never gets boring, because there's always new games coming out, there's always new planets coming out, there's always new projects building cool stuff that you're able to visit and participate in. So that's like one of the biggest goals. It's definitely long term, but it's super important to get done, because that's how you can onboard a ton of new people and actually get a ton of new people interested in the game, as having these like projects build new experiences and new planets just make the game more interesting for everyone, and brings in communities that might have not been playing the game beforehand.
Got it. That's very, very cool. And I'm curious, because I know you guys have a ton of game development experience with these, basically the studios, right? So you're partnered with the studio, I believe, Martian. Do you also have experience with other sorts of business, or kind of like starting some sort of entrepreneurial venture in your team?
Yeah, so the indie game studios, like as I said, Martian Games primarily has been focusing on creating like these web-based games. So if you go on, similar to, if you know, like the Solana game Mini Nations Royale, it's basically like if you go to like one of like the top sites where you can play like web-based games, like crazygames.com or something like that. So yeah, so the Martian Games has been creating games in the space for a ton of time, and they've released their own games, which they have like partnerships with these web-based game library sites, and so they've accumulated like millions of users in their lifetime with their own games that are web-based, similar to how Many Nations Real did it. So they also started as just like a web-based game as well. Like Many Nations Real has been playable for a long time, but then they just like recently switched over and integrated Solana into it.
Interesting. Okay, that's very cool. And why'd you guys decide to go with the NFT collection instead of, what a lot of other games do, which is a IDO or going for one of these incubators?
So I believe that, so we haven't been taking funding from a lot of people that have been been requesting, like trying to fund us, because we really want to have ownership over everything in terms of like control over what we do and not having to like basically change stuff based on what like someone who invested in us tells us. But by doing this NFT sale, it's a way to basically get funding for our project without having to outsource from like VCs. And by doing an NFT sale, you build a pretty strong community right off the bat, because your holders are your like main community who are gonna like be telling you what to change about the game, telling you their opinions about the game. And in our eyes, just having like that community is worth a lot, and it's a lot easier to establish by doing an NFT sale than it is doing an IDO right away. Similar to how Genesis did it, like you saw how they released NFT. They built a super strong community around their NFTs and around like their platform and what they're doing. And then they went into that IDO after they already had like that super strong community that was supporting them, telling them what they liked, what they didn't like, what to fix, and stuff like that. So it's more of a community aspect in terms of having a strong community by doing that NFT sale, as well as also being able to offer cool in-game perks and stuff for your holders, and creating like private experiences, like private planet access, and like in-game benefits to holders, which is like kind of like when you're playing like in-game within like Halo or something, you can buy like cool cosmetic upgrades, or you can buy like double XP. So as a holder, you get like these kinds of boosts, which help you if you're a gamer and want to compete.
Got it. And that leads into my next question. What in your mind is the number one reason to get involved in the Mint, right? Because I see there are a lot of benefits. You have the free teleportation, you have, I believe, bunkers. There's a bunch of different benefits. What in your mind is like the number one that you're most excited about?
So it really depends on like what your preferences are and what your plan is, what the NFT is as a holder. So like if you really like what we're building in terms of like the games and like the stuff that you can do inside of the Borgverse, then one of the cool benefits is that you're actually going to get like private access to like planets that we haven't launched yet. Get like early access testing and all that, so you can get familiarized with that. If you're more competitive and want to be able to like actually compete in like the play to earn events that we do on every single day on each PvP planet, having that, being a holder like grants you exclusive like as I said before, like that XP double XP kind of reward. So like on our PvP planets, every time you get like a kill, every time you win a match, you get XP, which you can then use to upgrade your in-game vehicle. Like you can upgrade your spaceship, you can upgrade your tank, you can upgrade your weapons and armor in the FPS planet. And that being a holder, you're basically able to level up faster, which helps in terms of competing in the daily like events, or not events, like in the daily competitions where the top people get rewarded, and as well as it helps you upgrade your in-game assets a lot faster, which you can then rent out to other users while you're not playing and just earn passively from that. And everyone can level up to get to maxed, even if you're not a holder. But being a holder lets you do that a lot faster, which gives you like an edge on people. And then you also get access to a bunch of cosmetic design things. Like for example, like if you're a holder, you're able to custom design your spaceship, how it looks inside and outside. If you're not a holder, you just have to use the basic one that's given to you. And of course, as I said, if you're spending a lot of time in the game, like, you don't really want to be flying from planet to planet because it could be time consuming. It's fun, but at the same time, like if you just want to get somewhere fast, you can use the instant teleportation, where there's a teleporter on each planet. And if you're not a holder, you have to fly, and you're not able to use that teleportation system.
Got it. And with the teleportation system, because when I first heard about that, I thought it was going to be part of the in-game economy in some way where you have to pay to teleport, or is that something that's on the table, or?
Yeah, so I still think it's a little too early to talk about like the tokenomics
Mhm.
exactly because we're still working on that. But yeah, one of the things that like we've been thinking about is like basically you pay if we once we launch our own coin, you can actually pay like a gas fee with quotations around it to
Mhm.
use the teleporter, and then that would just get like, redistributed amongst holders. But it's still too early to talk on the exact tokenomics, so
Mhm.
nothing I say is set in stone.
Yeah, that totally makes sense because at this stage, the real priority, I'm guessing, is to create that gameplay loop that gets people coming back and then introducing play to earn and tokenomics at a later point. One question I did have is you mentioned a lending mechanism, right? So you can lend out your NFTs. Could you elaborate a bit on that if that is something that's kind of developed a bit more in terms of your
Yeah,
ideas on
so
it?
in terms of that, we were reached out like a month or two ago by Chainmouth, who are also working on that same kind of lending slash like renting kind of thing. And they're doing it through this protocol. I forgot the exact name, but we're going to be working closer with them most likely, and seeing like if we can establish a system where users are actually able to rent out their in-game items like their tanks and their spaceships and stuff like that, so that you can actually earn money by renting that stuff out if it's like high level equipment, which is another benefit. But that's also still in the works, so I can't really say too much about it. Um, just just know that we're working on something like that for holders.
Yeah, that's really, really cool. And a lot of the people who, so obviously I just started this channel, but a lot of the people who've already subscribed are members of Cyberwolf's DAO. It's kind of like a gaming investment DAO. So they're really interested in kind of like the potential ROI in minting projects like this, right? So when I heard lending, I immediately thought of those guys because they really do want to go into projects and focus on kind of investing into projects that reward holders long term without necessarily having to spend all day playing the game. So is that something that's kind of on the board? But obviously you guys haven't figured out the tokenomics, but is there kind of plans to reward NFT holders long term beyond just in-game kind of gameplay and with mechanisms like lending or other ways to kind of financially reward them?
Yeah, so that's definitely like one thing that we're really trying to nail down because we know that not everyone has all day to compete on these PvP planets to like earn. So we're trying to like build in a few other aspects for people to be able to earn, maybe on like on the single player planets where you can just like go whenever you want, run through some of the levels of like the parkour planet and get rewarded for that. In terms of passive income, I mean everyone does like staking, but I'm not really sure how like if how good that would be for us, like staking your Botborg to earn our coin. So I can't really speak on that yet, but we're definitely thinking have that in mind because we know that not everyone has time, or a lot of people are just here to invest and to just hold their Botborg and get paid out for it, similar to what Genesis did, where they allocated like a part of their IDO to their holders and gave them like an airdrop. So I can't say we're doing anything like that yet, but I'm saying we definitely have something like that in mind in terms of what we're actually going to do for people that don't want to play the game, but just want to be a holder and still want to earn off of it.
Yeah, and I think that's one of those things where when you're initially building a game, it's really difficult to, obviously have the tokenomics completely figured out. It's really tough to say, hey, this is exactly what the tokenomics will look like. So it's hard to make promises because then people hold you to them, right? But there is something I've noticed where there are projects that either have this mindset of, hey, even if we haven't figured out how our exact play to earn is going to work, even if we haven't figured out the mechanics, we do want to reward early NFT buyers, like they're basically kind of investing into the project and they have that intention. And so that's kind of what I was trying to gauge out there. And I can see that you guys do have that intention, which is really, really important in my opinion, in terms of just making sure that somebody like me can go in and just basically buy and hold and obviously play the game as well, but really view it as a kind of a decision as, okay, this is a team that I can get behind for multiple years.
For sure. Yeah, I agree. People really care a lot about that.
Absolutely. And so you guys right now have one playable demo, which is on your website. I'll make sure there's a link below. And that's basically your tank capture the flag game, which looks really fun. what are the next upcoming gameplay modes that will be coming out?
Yeah, so our goal is to release basically our base 10 planets, which are a mix of our community, single player, and PvP. In terms of what we're releasing soon, so our goal for these first 10 planets is to release it's around 2 to 3 community planets, which are basically like hubs for people to hang out with. You can chat with friends, you can ride bikes around the planet. These are more like non-PvP, like you can't really do damage to each other. It's more like you can just talk with each other, meet new people, and then you can take your spaceship or your teleporter and then fly to one of our PvP planets. For the PvP planets, so we already released the tank game. It's still being polished up, but it's just like an early version so people can see like what we're doing. But that's like the one that's already out. And then right now our main focus is to get that FPS planet out, which is basically going to be like a 5v5 shooter. We're able to play like different game modes like capture the flag, free for all, and search and destroy. And this should be out in around like 2 to 3 weeks, like an early version of it for people to be able to test it out and play it with friends just to see like what we need to improve. And then we're also working on a bunch of single player planets where it's more just like casual single player stuff. Like you can play like through levels of parkour. You can there's one single player planet where it's like an aim trainer where you're able to like land and train your headshot percentage, train your reaction time, which then comes in useful when you fly over to your the FPS planet. Then you can compete at a much better like you can have a better feel for the weapons and stuff like that after trading your aim. But by creating these base 10 planets that I'm talking about, it basically creates like the basic framework for what the Borgverse is going to become. We're just going to continue expanding with new planets in all 3 of these categories. By creating these 10 planets, it gives users enough choice to like do what they want. Like there's going to be a few different types of games that they can play, like the FPS, the tank, the spaceship racing. And there's also like hangout planets that you can just hang out with if you just want to talk to people and meet new people in the space. Or if you have like a project, you can even go to one of the town hall planets and like have a chat with all your users. But so by creating these planets, it basically creates like the basic structure for people so they can actually like have fun. And then we're only expanding after that. So we're just going to continue adding new planets. We're going to be once we build these first 10, we're going to be a lot more open to like taking ideas and feedback from our community. Basically, like if someone suggested yesterday we should make a planet where you can like connect like your VR to it or something like that. Like so we're just going to be a lot more open to taking ideas from our community after we build these first 10, because there's already going to be enough planets for people to like have fun on with these first 10, and then after that we're just going to continue adding more and more to please our users and basically create more new fun experiences inside of our ecosystem. You can kind of look at it as like an arcade like place where there's just a bunch of different games you can play, and it's all like completely like different mechanics and new experiences. So if you don't like the FPS game, you can go and fly to the tank game, which is a completely different experience and with completely different mechanics. It's basically like downloading a brand new game, as compared to like other projects, other gaming projects, which are more just like you're locked into one type of game style. Like you're playing a first-person shooter and nothing else, or you're playing this exploration game and nothing else. By creating like this hub of different planets and experiences, it gives users a lot more choice in terms of like what they spend their time on, what they want to do with their time inside of the game, what planet they want to compete on to be able to like earn a price of a piece of the pot. But it's just more, by having more options, it creates a more fun and enjoyable experience for our users.
Absolutely. So there were 2 big key points I got from that I kind of, these might be tangential, these might not be kind of what you guys are thinking as well, but in my mind, these came up immediately. And the first thought was that, number one, you're basically building an ecosystem here, right? Like I can see this eventually in the future turning into something where maybe the community provides grants to developers to build these new planets and these new experiences, or basically it turns into kind of one of an ecosystem project where there's developers building on it versus just one team working on it, right? So that's really exciting, because when you have an ecosystem and you have multiple projects, that increases the chance of success overall of the ecosystem a lot more. It becomes, it benefits from those network effects. So that's the first thing I'm incredibly bullish on. The second piece that I'm incredibly bullish on, and that kind of goes the opposite direction, is because of the fact that you guys are building these multiple planets. There is a possibility that you might just find one gameplay mode or one basically game style that people are just absolutely addicted to, where they're just, you know, spending all their time on, and that could be something which you could expand upon and really turn into something bigger. And so in general, I feel like either way you're winning, right? Because you can go with the ecosystem play and the metaverse play, but then you also are kind of have this like testing ground for testing all these different types of games, and that those could in of themselves become big projects. So that's really, really cool.
Thank you. And yeah, that's basically our goal with exactly what you were saying about creating basically so many experiences that you're bound to find something that you like. And you're bound to meet new people and play with them.
Absolutely. So I think that covers most of my questions that I had. One question I did have is, what are the gaming / metaverse projects that you personally are most bullish on, right?
So I haven't like been able to play too many of them. I dived into the sandbox, which is like basically the most developed one at this point, where it's like they actually have like something that's working. You can play for fun. You can do like missions in game and like earn tokens. So if I was to like pick like the top one right now, sandbox, of course. In terms of on Solana, I really like the Mini Nations game. It's pretty fun. It's just like a lot of the servers are in EU, so it's pretty laggy for me, but their game mechanics are fun. It's like pretty easy to play. It's casual. You can jump into a game like instantly, and it's just fun to play. And then I'm pretty sure they're like the only gaming project on Solana that actually has like a fully working multiplayer like gaming experience that's actually enjoyable. I don't think anyone else right now has like a demo out like that. And that there's not a demo. There's actually like an actual game, but just saying that like no one really has close to what they've built so far.
Absolutely. And with Botborgs, I know the mint is sometimes in January, or you guys are still figuring that out, right? The mint date.
Yeah, so we're aiming for the end of January. We should be making an announcement pretty soon. We're just getting things finalized. We're not in a rush. Our socials have been here for like 4 months. We've been building for 4 months in the space, so we're not really in a rush to just get it out right away. But we're aiming for the end of January. Yeah, and it'll be through Magic Eden.
Got it. Yeah, I mean, I can clearly see that you guys have been building with all the, especially the marketing stuff you guys are doing. It's very impressive, where you're building these bunkers for all these influencers. That to me shows me that, okay, this is a project that not only do you have the development side, but you also have the business / marketing side, which, you know, that's my background, marketing. So I really like seeing that. And so 10,000 supply drop, price to be determined, and then the date probably around end of January.
Yep, that's exactly what it is. Yep.
Perfect. I'll definitely be minting. And where should people go if they want to learn more about the project? Obviously the website, or what else should they do?
Yeah, so if you're new and want to learn more about the project, I suggest always start off with the website, click on the learn more button, and there's like a page dedicated to like giving more info. And then once you read up on that, hop over to our Discord, and we have a pretty nice community in here that's always like happy to help. And I'm also always sitting in Discord, like answering people's questions. So if you guys have more questions about the project itself, or what you're building or what we're building, just hop in Discord, just ask away. And we also post like daily sneak peeks on Twitter. So if you guys want to see more of like what we're building on the daily, just give us a follow there. And we do like daily updates.
That is very cool. Guys, there will be links in the bio, in the description. So there'll be links to the website, to the Discord, Twitter as well. You have amazing stuff on Twitter. There's a lot of footage there. There's a lot of collabs that you guys have been doing. So the Twitter is really, really cool. And yeah, overall, I'm super excited about the project, and I'm going to be minting it as well with everybody else. So guys, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to smash that subscribe button, give me a like, on the video, just so we can get the YouTube algorithm getting us a little bit more love, so I can get you more gaming alpha. I'm on the lookout for any good gaming projects on Solana, even on other blockchains. My goal is to find good projects that are undervalued and have potential, and not give you the $200 million market cap projects that have zero gameplay footage. I'm trying to do the opposite in this channel. So please do that, and I'll see you in the next video.